Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building, Ryan Leslie.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome, sir.
Back again.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while, man.
Been a minute.
I'm actually looking forward to talking to you today because I follow a great Instagram page. It's a guy named Artemis Gordon. I think he's a guy. I don't know what he does. But he had a couple posts about you that were very interesting.
He did.
But they were in a good way, though.
Okay,
He
all
was
right.
talking about he was talking
Right.
about how talented you are, you know, but he was talking about some of the reasons maybe why your career might have been stifled.
Oh.
Yes.
All right, we could talk about
So
that.
what was the reason he said his career might have been stifled?
Well, do you feel like you've been blackballed or blacklisted?
Nah,
Okay.
not at all. Not at all. I feel like everybody's trajectory in life is based on the choices they make. And so I've made pretty strategic choices in my life and career. And I would say that it's always tough for folks. I mean, you know what? People say that outside of yourself, people can see you better than you can see yourself. So I'm always interested in I would say outside perspectives of my trajectory. I'm happy where I am right now. I'm extremely happy where I am right now, and I think that I've made very strategic and specific choices to end up exactly where I am right now.
Was choosing to rap more than sing a choice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, also, I think, look, as an artist, you always have to be able to just be free in terms of your expression. As soon as someone else tells you, like, hey, you should do this or you should do that. And then, yeah, as soon as someone tells you you should do this or you should do that in order to get, let's say, fame or success, I think also fame and success is however you measure it, you know? And I think chasing fame or success based on other people's opinions is always going to get you into trouble.
So let's start. What happened with the music career? You had a bunch of singles. You were out and about. You were promoting. You know, you were in the clubs. You were pushing your records, and then it just totally just stopped.
Yeah.
And did you go a new route? Did you decide you didn't want to go that far into music? What happened?
So in 2013, I decided to take all my music off of streaming services. And actually, you know what? We haven't actually talked about a lot of this since I've been here last. So,
Right.
I mean, listen, so much actually happened. I mean, I was on the cover of the New York Post. I lost a lawsuit, my laptop.
Yeah,
I mean,
I remember that.
anybody who ever talks to me, oh, what happened to your laptop, et cetera.
Right.
So, I mean, there was a lot that happened around that time. And for me, I've always been a technologist, kind of a technologist and or futurist. And so I noticed in 2013 that I had amassed a following of like 1 million plus on social media. And I felt as though, look, you know, social media is really just an advertising platform. It's a way for people to actually monetize my audience. And I felt like living in a land of technology now and innovation and entrepreneurship, I should actually have a direct contact with all my fans.
To the consumer, correct?
Right. So I gave my number out. So I gave my number out 2013.
You were the first
and-
crazy person to do that. I'm giving my number, but you gave your real number out.
Yeah, I gave my real number out. And actually,
Maybe
you know,
Mike Jones
Mike
did it.
Jones,
Mike
Yeah.
Jones.
Mike Jones was
yeah,
first.
the real OG, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, look, in 2013, what's beautiful about 2013 versus when Mike Jones gave his number out is that I could actually put real technology behind it and have a smart way to actually manage all the inbound requests. So like right now, anybody can leave their number at textryan.com. My direct phone number will text them back. So I decided, like, look, I wanted to see what I could do if I could have people text me if they wanted my album. So then that way, anybody that wasn't interested, they could, you know, listen to whatever else that was on streaming services. But anybody that wanted to text me and wanted my album, they could text me to get it. And so that's how I basically built a technology company around direct-to-consumer selling, etc. And if you really, if you look at Nipsey Hussle's mailbox money, he also employed the same kind of strategies and tactics. So he decided he was going to sell his second mixtape for $1,000, right? And he did it on my platform. So really, the beauty was that everyone thought that I just disappeared, but in reality, I was able to actually just connect with the people who really cared about my music, and they paid me directly. I didn't have to wait for streaming services, etc. Everything was just direct, and so I can now tour based on just who I know. Every single person that actually bought my record.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Some people thought it was a concerted effort to get Ryan Leslie out of the music industry. Like one of the rumors was Kanye thought you were a threat and he encouraged you to rap and not sing.
Wait, so
What?
is this from Artemis?
Yes, it
okay,
is.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, is Artemis a real site?
Yes, on
Okay.
Instagram.
Do you
It's
know-
actually
do
a
you know
great
who this
page.
person is, Ryan? Do you
Great
know?
page
No, I
to
have
follow.
not.
Never
heard
nobody's
of
ever
this guy.
tagged you in any of
No,
those?
no,
or-
no.
Follow Artemis
No, it's a
now.
great page to follow. But is that any truth to that? Did he encourage you to rap?
He
and not
did.
sing?
He did encourage me to rap. And I mean, listen, anyone who's ever stopped me and said, "Hey, look, I love this collaboration you did with Kanye," was Christian Dior Denim Flow. So I had a verse on that record when he was doing the Good Fridays, and it was time for a lesson in model behavior. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, he was like, "Yo, you should just go ahead and rap." I was like, "Oh, this is what I feel like doing," you know. So I made a couple of, actually 3, 4 rap albums.
And they say that they think that alienated your core fan base.
I mean, that it's possible. I mean, we got a 10-year anniversary show that's happening in New York City, and the response to that has been great because I said specifically that we're celebrating the first 2 albums. The first 2 albums were R&B albums.
Ooh.
Second of which was Grammy nominated, and yeah, I mean, listen, I think fan music in general is just, you know, it's fickle. You know, I think music is subjective. You just listen to it, either it feels great or it doesn't. You know, you might listen to the lyrics, you may not. And really it's about how the music is attached to an experience that you're having socially, right? That's how I feel about music. And so I've had a great time with the music that I have created after those 2 albums. And most people who know me know that I spent a lot of time in Europe just touring and traveling, still doing, you know,
Right.
nice sized venues. And I think once again I made a concerted decision that, okay, this is how far I believed I could actually make an impact in music, and then this is how far I believe I can make an impact from being a technologist, being an entrepreneur.
Did you
in
pay
that
a lot of
regard.
attention to Prince, like when he pulled all his music off of streaming services and his reasons why?
Yeah, I did. And so I really, once again, I feel like when Prince did it, and also like we talked about Mike Jones, when he gave his phone number out, technology just wasn't at a place where you could do that at scale and actually manage it all yourself. I think, you know, when you look at the recent IPO of a company like Fiverr, where people are just, it's a gig economy. You have a service that you want to offer, you can put it on the internet, just like anybody who has music and they want to put it on the internet. Now you have a super highway of actually being able to reach anyone that is interested in what you have to offer. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that what I had to offer was the most valuable possible. Music, I think, you know, it's cultural. It's you know, the same songs are being written. It depends on how people gravitate to the vessel. And so younger people I was just talking to Craig Coleman the other day. He said, look, music is skewed so young right now, so the same person could have the same song in different generations, and the younger generation is going to choose the vessel that they want to hear that message from. And so for me, I felt like, look, how can I actually help people the most? Yeah, it was great. You know, I wrote a couple of heartbreak songs. I could help people through, you know, some heartbreak, and Neo wrote So Sick, and you can listen to those songs and get through some heartbreak. For me, I was like, look, as I look around, I see people all wanting success. How can I get them to success? And how can I get them to success by showing them, A, that I could get there myself without the accolades, without having to do it, you know, in a massive way that everyone can actually, you know, see. Maybe like Artemis is saying, like, hey, man, you know, where has Ryan been? But to actually touch, you know, more millions after I, quote unquote, disappeared from the music industry and from the scene, with a smaller audience that's more dedicated, that to me is a more replicable pathway than just trying to like
Right. Those are real fans.
catch lightning.
So numbers wise, just give us an example of what you were making when your albums were the regular on streaming services and being distributed that way versus numbers that you can make when you are doing it your way.
Yeah, so listen, I've never, you know what's actually crazy is like being here in New York City is kind of like a ground zero base for me. When you look at the numbers though, I only sold 180,000 records. My
For
first
both
album.
albums or the first album? Okay.
First album only 180,000. That's not even scratching
Wow,
gold,
okay.
right? So to say like, hey man, you were out here really crushing it, 180,000 records the first one, The second album, critically acclaimed, Grammy nominated, 60,000 records. 60,000 records. You got to think in the pantheon of success in the music industry, people talk in terms of gold and platinum. Gold is 500,000, platinum's $1 million.
Right.
I was at 60,000 records my second album. Yeah, I have a core fan base. People loved it, etc.
You also had a record that was on radio, top 10 record.
Yeah, and I wondered, did you really have a machine behind you?
Or top 20 record. And
I don't know if
big
the
in New
machine
York.
was
It
ever-
was huge in New York.
I don't know if the machine
Diamond
was
Girl,
ever behind.
Addiction, those 2 records.
Yes.
But really, once again,
But
if you
everybody
look-
knew your name. Everybody knew who you were.
And I think everyone knew who I was based on the fact that I had a record with Cassie. Cassie was really the big record. That was top 10 in 8 countries. You know what I mean?
Was that
Diamond-
Me and You? Was that?
Me and
Me and
You.
You. Me and You.
Massive, massive record for me. And so people knew that I wrote and produced that entire album. So in the music industry, when you have a producer that writes and produces 100% album and one of those records goes all the way, then people definitely going to know your name because they want to collaborate
Everybody
with you,
wants to be your
et cetera,
friend.
et cetera. And I think that I think Cassie was really the precursor and the foreshadowing that the internet was going to change the way that music was discovered and distributed.
Explain.
Cassie was a MySpace artist.
Oh.
So we put our music on MySpace. We, myself and my partner, Rashid Richmond, came up with a Google hack. So everyone who searched MySpace, the keyword, would end up on her MySpace music profile. And she went from 0 to 650,000 friends in 3 months. Sometimes that happens, and I think we've been looking at that happening potentially on social media now and Instagram. Somebody does something viral, and then they get a bunch of followers. What we realized, though, is that MySpace just disappeared, and we didn't have phone numbers on all those people. So
Right.
650,000 friends. She also was the first artist in history to have a 1-to-1 correlation between social following and sales. 650,000 albums sold and
Right.
650,000
Because that
friends.
never happens.
Wow.
That never happens.
Yeah, that definitely don't happen. Now, these people be having 16 million
People be
followers
so
on
mad. They're
Twitter
like, I have all
and
these
stuff.
followers. How come
5,000
they
records.
didn't go out and buy my
that
record?
would be great if they had a 1-to-1. So I think getting back to the numbers, if you think about royalties on records, right? And I had a pretty standard record contract, which is like a 20%, which actually is pretty.
Yeah.
That's actually a nice record contract,
Standard,
20%, right? 20%. Even if it was $10 a record times 180,000 records, that's 1.8 million. 20% of that, you could do the math. It's like 300,000, right? And then, and then basically you take some taxes out of that, like, and they had already given me an advance. So I made no money on those
Right.
two records, right? And it was great because obviously I have publishing. I wrote and produced everything, so my money's
And
happening in
most people
publishing.
don't have that.
Yeah, but in terms of record royalties, it's a couple 100,000, right? So when I actually sold my record directly, no middleman, I sold my tickets directly, no middleman, 15,000 records times $10, that's 150,000. That went straight to my pocket. And then the beauty of actually knowing every single person who bought my record means that when I went on tour,
You
I
know
could
where
send
you
a
can go.
text to them,
I'm in your city.
right? I'm in your city. Nobody goes to concerts alone. And also concert tickets cost 4 times as much as the album. So my concert ticket for my show is $40. So $40 times 40,000 tickets that we sold in Europe behind that album is the Less is More album that I did, 40,000 tickets. Less is More, Black Mozart, MZRT albums. That's $1.6 million. I mean, the math is totally crazy, and I don't need to go platinum. I don't need 500,000 people. I need 40,000 people.
What about bundling? Did you do merchandise? Did you do like album bundling and merchandising and all of that along with it?
Yeah. And the beauty is once you actually have someone texting you that says, hey, I'm interested in merch, then you automatically can target them to give them anytime you have a merch drop.
Right.
And your conversion is going to be higher. But really,
You know who else did that?
Louis C.K.
Louis C.K. and Kevin Hart.
Oh, he actually.
Yeah, when
okay.
Kevin first was getting back hot, and he would do his stand-up shows, he'd get everybody's email in the audience.
Yeah.
So he just built his base.
Yeah.
Did you have a problem with all those people? Because I seem like everybody followed you. Like, I seen rappers giving out their numbers. I seen Diddy giving out their numbers. Was it your platform, or they would created their own platform and kind of followed your way of doing it?
Yeah, so we have a huge number of artists, and honestly, like I said, I was just talking to Craig Coleman from Atlantic. They made an investment in my platform, and so Meg Thee Stallion, Miley Cyrus, Joyner Lucas, a lot of folks decided like, hey, what Ryan is doing is the right way to go, and it can't be just email. Email conversion rates are low. It got to be text. That's the most important real estate in everybody's phone is over text. So me personally, I love to see that kind of validation, and so that's why it's surprising for somebody to be, oh, is Brian getting blackballed? Is Brian? I think people are actually. It's kind of the innovator's dilemma. When you're first, people going to look at it
Right.
sideways, right? Once they see that it's working and they say, wow. And actually this happened with Puff even in the MySpace time. Like when we did what we did with MySpace and Cassie, I remember having that meeting with him and him saying like, look, what do I need to do to actually be on this social media wave, right? And so we helped him with his MySpace profile. He became the fastest growing MySpace profile in the history of MySpace. So I think that for me to have 100,000 phone numbers, I got 100,000 people on text right now, there will be an artist that comes after me, and my numbers are available. So anybody that's interested in following this pathway and going this same direction, I'm looking for somebody that's going to get to 1 million or 2 million or 5 million numbers, right? Because why should Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat have all the fun, right?
You never
Have all
patented
the
it? You
data.
didn't patent it, so it would be your thing, so nobody else can do that, or you didn't even think about it, or
Nah, I mean it's almost like can Sprint patent cell phone service, right?
Right.
You need the competitors to make sure everybody's honest, and you need the competitors to actually make sure that your technology and your platform is the best that it can be. You'll notice that somebody actually says, okay, I mean, look at all the different car companies we have, right? And so look at all the different electric car companies we have. We want to have that competition so
Right.
that it actually continues to improve the product. For me, I'm always looking at how do I improve humanity in general on a grand scale, right? So I'm excited about competitors. I'm excited about other people using this process because it's going to refine the process so that other people later on can get to success in half the time.
So
Let's
how many
let's
people,
talk- oh,
who
go
do
ahead.
you work with specific? Like, are there artists? I know you said you just met with Craig Kalman, but are there other artists right now specifically that you've been working with on their profiles?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think really what I've done with and the platform is called Superphone. What I've done with Superphone is just made it completely flexible. Whatever you can dream, you could build. So
Right.
if you decide that you want to, run Superphone for your floral business, like I said.
Okay, so
if
it's
you-
not
yeah.
just music; it's for other
Yeah,
business. You
it's
have a
for
book
business.
you're putting out.
It's for business in general. Look, I mean, listen, the number of interviews I've watched of folks that come on here that talk about whether it was that guy that makes his own shoes, whether it was Byron Allen, et cetera,
They could be
right?
on there.
Exactly.
Super
What
fun.
we're noticing is that the number one reason or the number one challenge between where someone is today and where they want to be is either contacts or capital. If you can solve for the contacts, you can get to the capital. Trust me, I went and raised millions of dollars for Superphone. I didn't have any investors in my phone. I had only music industry people in my phone. I needed to figure out, okay, how do I go raise millions of dollars for a platform so I could help people? And so just like Byron was talking about, somebody that has a great deal of capital, they have a problem on their hands because they need to deploy the capital to get a return. And so with Superphone, what we're doing is we're really just giving people the ability to be in everyone's most important real estate, which is the text feed on your phone. And to this point, there hasn't been inbox management for text. That's why we don't give our cell phone number out. It's like,
Right.
yo, I can't have people texting me. It's like, I can't manage it. Now I can.
Right.
And so any business actually can. So whether your business is, hey, I need to go raise money, you should just put every investor that you ever meet, you just tag them as investor. And every time you have an update on your business, an update on what you're doing, you can text all your investors.
Now, is
Or
there
if
a
you-
robocall,
super
though,
smart.
where it's like one of those things where people get upset that you're texting them so much? Like, I give you my number, and I
Right.
might want this one album. But
Right.
don't text me no more, Ryan. But now you got my information, and you can text me as many times as you want.
Or you can opt out. I'm sure.
Yeah, we make it really easy to opt out. I mean, it's standard. You text back, stop or unsubscribe, you never talk to me again. The question, though, is do you actually want to not have a direct line of communication to me? Because I'm helping whoever I can,
Right.
right? And so I say this all the time. Look, send me a text. What is it that you need to actually make it? Do you need contacts? Do you need advice? Do you need strategy? Do you need investment? Send me a text. The crazy thing is, most of us have hundreds of people in our phone that we don't text. We're scared to ask for help. We're scared to ask for whatever we need in order to actually excel. And what I found is that giving people a platform so that they can be helped.
Right.
And that's why the venture capital community, and I had to learn this from going out to Silicon Valley, they understand this concept of just like, yo, somebody comes to you with a great idea,
Yeah.
help that person,
Yeah.
okay? Because you don't have the idea, you got the money, but help that person because that's going to turn into Uber.
They're
That's
looking
why-
for great ideas
I
to
agree with
invest
that.
in.
That's
Yeah.
why, like, I don't like to turn people away. I at least want to explore it and see what it is, because you never
Exactly.
know who's going to be that next person. But what if
Exactly.
they start asking you for like refrigerators and their rent paid and stuff like that?
I've had that before.
Yeah.
You know, folks say,
But
hey,
people
you know,
will return, hey, let me get a fridge.
they didn't say fridge, but they say, hey, look, can you pay off my student loans or
Lord
whatever.
Yeah,
have
we
mercy.
get all these all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you done it?
People.
For sure. Now, in certain cases, I have made donations or
Right.
I've covered, you know, whatever it is. I've made investments, I've made introductions. But just like you said, it all comes down to the ask. And so in life, I think we're always looking for just alignment. And so if paying someone's student loans is aligned with what I am looking to achieve or gain. Maybe I want that person to come work for me at Superphone,
Right.
and they're like, hey, look, I can't move to New York unless my student loans are paid, but I'm one of the greatest, computer developers you've ever met. Yeah, I pay off the student loans.
You're
Well,
right. It is
you
all
about
in
to
the
have
ask. 'Cause
everybody hitting you today.
That's
Let's
not true
go.
though, because I also think
Yeah.
that there's a lot of people who don't have follow through. Like you can
Oh,
say,
man.
people will ask for things, and then you'll respond and say, okay, this is what I need from you if this is what you want, and
That's
they don't
real.
have that follow through, and
That's
you can
real.
tell by how people follow up and how they actually approach you and ask you whether or not it's something that's valid.
That's true. That's true.
Let's go back to Artemis Gordon page.
Let's go back.
Artemis said the love triangle between you, Diddy, and Cassie ruined your momentum. Do you think that?
Did it ruin my momentum? Well, I mean, in terms of what?
Just music.
Just in music.
Yeah, the music industry.
No, I think it actually was great for my momentum. I mean, some of the best songs that I ever wrote had to do with that breakup. You know, so whether it's people's favorite songs like Out of the Blue or any of the records that are on that second album or even Diamond Girl, a lot of those songs. I mean, really, the story behind Diamond Girl was we were working on Cassie's second album in L.A. and because of whatever was going on personally in her life, she didn't show up at the studio that day. I had that beat ready to go. She didn't show up at the studio. I recorded Diamond Girl. So I think that from a music standpoint, the greatest music is always born out of whatever
yes.
you're going through.
Mary J. Blige, Toni Braxton.
Yeah, the list goes on
Amy
and on and on
Winehouse.
and on and on.
It could be said that Diddy possibly could have ruined Cassie's career, because if you were the guy behind that sound, if you were the guy behind her success, him getting in the middle of that and being with her, kind of distanced y'all.
Once again, I say, look, your life is the aggregate of the choices you make. And so, listen, I think that the fans sometimes being sort of just an audience, they're spectators, and they have an idea of how they would like the story to go. The story is always going to be based on the choices that are made by the actual player. So you could be sitting in a movie, and whether it's Joker or whatever else the movie is, you could say like, oh man, I really don't want that person to die. If the script writer makes a decision that person's going to die, you will be sitting in that movie and you might have to shed a tear because that person's going to die. So I believe that, look, as much as people, and Artemis included, may have a concept or an idea of how they would have liked the story to play out for their own entertainment or enjoyment, etc., everyone's life, including his life, is actually the aggregate of the decisions that he makes. And so he made a decision just to go right on Instagram or whatever it is, and you actually saw it, right? And so I think Cassie made a decision, Puffy's making decisions, I'm making decisions to lead the life that I want to lead and to have the kind of success that's really measured by my standard of success.
It had to change you and Puff's relationship, though.
I think my relationship with Puff really had to do with music. And so as I've been more in technology, there's a lot of people's relationship, the dynamic has changed because they're like, yo, Ryan, bring that beat pack. I don't have a beat pack for you. You know what I'm saying? But people that do call me up, like Rotimi just called me up, was like, oh, I'm making a new album. Listen, even if you don't have beats, let's just cook up whatever keyboards you need. Let's cook up. I'm still up in game for doing that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But I think my relationship with Puff or Kanye or anybody else changed because they were interested in a music creation relationship. And for me, I have a technology platform that I'm running right
Whatever
now.
happened with that case? I don't remember. I know she sued you for a couple $1 million. Was that ever? Did you ever pay that lady back, or what happened with that
It
situation?
was a guy, actually.
Did
It
you
was
ever
a
pay him
guy.
back?
Yeah. So it was a guy, and we came to a settlement on it because it was just dragging out. I had just on principle, like, look, a a shell of a laptop, there's no way that anyone could rationally believe that that's worth $1 million. So just off principle, I was fighting. That's why I went all the way to the courts. That's why he had to sue,
So
etc.
you're like, damn it, why did I even say that on?
Nah. Listen,
media?
I stand by everything that I said. and to be real, let's just say that the laptop came back with Watch the Throne records on it. It came back with 4 more Ryan Leslie R&B albums on it,
Yeah,
right?
it's worth it.
That was
It's
on
worth
it?
it.
You had Watch
Yeah.
the Throne records on it?
Yeah, for sure.
You produced on Watch the Throne?
I was there for all those sessions, man. I was there in Bath, England at Peter Gabriel's studio. I was there in Australia. I was there in Paris.
Really?
I was at the Mercer. And that record, I actually came off tour to go do that to do those studio sessions. And, I didn't have multi-tracks. Who's going to put out a record with no multi-tracks?
Right.
Those multi-tracks were on the laptop. So I said, look, if I made $6 million off of just the actual Cassie record, one record, right? And that was Cassie. She's an unknown artist. And I got 4 more Ryan Leslie R&B albums, and I got Kanye and Jay-Z records for Watch the Throne. It's definitely worth $1 million.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that million up, and even if we have to create some sort of agreement where they get paid off of the publishing in the future, which is actually how we ended up doing the settlement. I said, look, here, just take a portion of my old catalog and just chill over there. Stop coming after me for all types of other
Right.
money. Take this as long as you're fine with that, because they realize, hey, look, the catalog is actually still generating money. I'm fine with that as a revenue stream if he doesn't want to give me a lump sum, because I didn't want to give him the lump sum.
Did any of those records make the Watch the Throne album?
No.
Oh, because of the laptop getting stolen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you been to Sunday service?
No, I haven't been to Sunday service.
What do you think about that?
I support any artist that just follows their heart, and so if that's what's on Kanye's heart to how he wants to change the world. I mean, I feel like I'm on that same page, man. It's just about how am I going to make the greatest impact, and so if he feels like, look, the greatest impact I can make is to be a better example for my children and then for fathers and other folks. I mean, I would say one of the greatest conversations I had with Kanye was about actual education. And he was under the impression that, look, the entire education system needs to be reformed. And what kids really need to learn is just how to search on the internet. That's what school should be. Because, and I agree with him. I would say that there's so much information that's on the internet right now. And misinformation. So it's about knowing, A, what to search, and B, knowing what actual resources are valid and believable and credible. I think that's important as well. So I would say that for him to decide that hey, this is how I want to impact the world in the greatest way possible. And I think now from the success that he's achieved, it's a legacy play. And I feel like I'm in that same place where it's about a legacy play.
Kanye wrote a lot of your wave though, right? You could say you was probably his muse at one point. You think?
Really? I think he just had his own artistic
But he had you
pathway.
around. He was taking some of your creative energy.
Yeah, I mean, I think every great creator needs to do that, right? You need to have the best people around. You need to have the smartest people around. I think that's what makes Steve Jobs one of the greatest innovators is because he could actually pull from all of these incredibly talented, visionary, innovative people and say, okay, this is how we productize this so that people can actually consume it. I think anyone that's looked at like even the trajectory of Apple, they say like, look, the iPhone as we have it now, that already existed, from the first iteration, but it was the genius of the company to say, look, we are going to release it in this timeline because consumers just wouldn't be ready for it, right? And so I think in 2013, when I was giving my phone number out, people just weren't ready for it. The fans were, but I think, I remember when I first gave my phone number, I went to Fab, I went to Pusha T, we was at Fab's crib, and I said, hey, look, I got this new platform. You get your phone number out, I'm getting a 50% conversion. I just did a $2 million album cycle. And they were just like, should stars really be that accessible? You know what I mean? Do I really need this? I'm already good. I want to keep that mystique. Like, does it sort of break down the veil if you give your phone number out? And now look, just go on Instagram. You can see everybody. Yo, here's my number. Just call me. Yeah, text me.
I wonder how they feel. I wonder, because in a way you would think social media is that, right?
Nah, because social media is public, right?
Yeah, so you don't really own it. Like if Instagram
And
shut
that
down
conversion
tomorrow,
is nowhere near the conversion that you have when people talk to you directly.
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
supporters
yeah.
of yours.
Yeah, but I would say like texting is dark social. It's dark social, right? So that's why when you're texting with somebody, you know that's why people have passwords on their phones, right? Because those conversations are dark. The Instagram conversation, the Twitter
Hey, everybody.
conversation is public. So
I be telling people, be
Yeah.
careful what you write on there. It's-
Exactly.
Everyone's gonna see it. You can't get mad and go on social
Yeah.
media and try to express all that.
Yeah. So, but there is a challenge though once you go to dark social because when someone leaves me a comment and I respond, "Hey Ryan, when's your next show or when's your next album?" and I respond, that response is there publicly. When someone texts me, "Hey Ryan, when's your next album? When's your next show?" and I respond, only that person gets to respond. Unless they screenshot and put it online,
Which happens all the time.
Right. No one else sees it. So to scale that personal takes the kind of technology platform that we develop.
Now let's talk about this anniversary show.
Yes.
And what's going to be happening. The 10-year anniversary show is happening on the 18th.
Yeah.
December 18th. So give us some type of insight, some spoilers. What's going to happen? Are there some surprises?
Nah, this is just going to be an intimate night with me, New York City. Actually, I have people flying in from Vegas, flying in from Dublin, Ireland, and actually, I did the entire show once again over text. You couldn't get it. You can't get through those doors unless you send me a text and say, "Hey, Ryan, I love your new albums. These are the songs I want to hear. This is how many tickets I want to reserve." So I know everybody who was even interested in coming. I know how many people who were interested in coming that actually bought tickets. Every single ticket holder, I have their direct cell phone number. They could text me. They could tell me they didn't like the show or they did like the show. If they need special accommodations,
I need to
remember
propose to somebody.
Yeah, we have all that happening, right? So, and so that's really what it's about. It's just about like, look, music. I feel like in many ways, if you're gonna do a show to be a spectacle, then you do a show to be a spectacle, which means like, hey, let's do the makeup, let's do the costumes, let's do the dancing, let's do the choreography, let's do the pyro, let's do the screens, let's do the set changes, etc. And at the same time, you know, when I look at my favorite performances of all time, like a Jimi Hendrix or a Bob Marley, there were no set changes, the costume changes. It really was just about the music, and that's what it's going to be on the 18th. It's just me, the supporters that have been with me for more than 10 years, and just the music, because I'm actually still one of those type of artists that can sit behind a keyboard, a piano, that can vamp on a song. You know what I mean? This is not a playback track type of situation. We could vamp. We could, you know, it's really just me and a 3-piece band. Gabe Lambert, John Young on guitar, Gabe Lambert on guitar, John Young on bass, Berto Beats on drums, myself, and you know I just came back from a 7-city run in Germany with the same. We have a book around it that my boy Dev Dooley shot.
So
I'm
you
just
get money
saying,
in Europe, huh?
absolutely, but I'm getting money everywhere. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the internet. That's what I mean. We're all getting money everywhere, and so I think that, you know, what is my lasting contribution? You know. Yeah, I have my 2 albums. I got my Grammy nomination, and yeah, there's always the chance that I make another record or I produce another record that goes all the way gold and platinum. But now with streaming services, they're giving out platinum and gold plaques just by nature of number of streams.
And now they're using YouTube to account towards those numbers.
Yeah, and so like, you know, everything is different. And so for me, when I think about what's my greatest contribution is a blueprint. And that blueprint is, if you want to be successful entrepreneurially, you're not where you want to be. You should just be making 30 phone calls a day. You don't even know the 30 phone calls that you should be making, and that's where you should start. And then from that point on, if you could solve, like I said, you could solve for contacts. And contacts could be fans. They could be customers. They could be investors. If you could solve for contacts, you could solve for money. And then once you make the money, I also have a program called Wealth Plan, which tells you where to put the money. Because my family growing up was in the Salvation Army. So being in the I'm talking about actual administrators in the Salvation Army. They never saw $1 million in a bank account. They never saw $250,000 in a bank account. So I moved to New York in 2003. Within 8 months, I had $650,000 in my bank account. My family couldn't help me with that.
Right.
And also, I had too much pride to go to my friends from Harvard and say, hey, what should I do with this?
And you know what? And that's true. A lot of people go to colleges and don't tap back into that network that they have.
That's crazy. And
Part
you
of
went
what
to
that's
Harvard.
for.
Yeah,
Harvard it's all about them. Those Ivy League schools supposed to be all about the network.
Yeah. When you come in with the network. You know what I'm saying?
Not when you're black.
So I mean, listen, I didn't come in with a network. I was very fortunate. I tested well, got in really early, but I was really the kid that was just like, okay, I don't understand any of this culture at Harvard. I don't row. I never, you know what I'm saying?
But you know what? It is true because I had a conversation with somebody who went to Dartmouth, and he actually never used his alumni network until somebody told him he should.
Yeah.
And he made cold phone calls to alumni and raised millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
Just from making those cold calls, because like you said, it is people that want to invest in great ideas.
They don't have the ideas. They have the capital. They have the capital. They don't have the ideas.
Are you doing the albums the songs in order from the first two albums, or is it out of order?
It's going.
I know some people are big on like, okay, I want to do it exactly like Jill Scott's doing her tour, and she's gonna do the songs. I think she's doing them in order. I'm just curious.
Oh no, it's pretty free form. It's pretty free form. I'm gonna just come out there. We start on the keys, and then we're gonna go wherever the night takes us. You know, it'll be 2.5 hours. People can leave if they want, but yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
Any special appearances? Is Cassie gonna pop out?
I mean, I think Cassie right now has to be really focused on being a brand new mother. Yeah. You know? So, I mean, you know, I shot her a text, you know what I mean? But you
did text her to ask her?
Yeah. Listen, I'm Mr. Text.
Superphone?
Yeah, I text everybody immediately. You know what I'm saying?
Did she reply back?
Yeah, she replied back.
And what she
said?
said?
You know what I mean? So she was like, hey, I'm going to be in L.A. You know?
Oh. Well, you, how did you feel when her and Diddy broke up?
How did I feel?
And then she ended up with somebody else.
I didn't really feel anything. I didn't really feel anything.
No light pettiness, like, how you get him is how you lose him.
Nah, I didn't really feel anything. You know what I mean? And also, I would say a lot of people who are close to me, they say, like, look, Ryan's very rational. So I'm just a kind of a rational person. It's about, like, you know, I want to always make sure that I have as much mental space to be a visionary as possible. So as long as I let some kind of pettiness creep into my mental space, that is definitely, there's always a cost of everything. So there's a cost of time, there's a cost of space. That's you real. Know, if you have a house and you got
cost
a nice
of words.
The cost of words. So you have a house, you got a nice living room, and you decide like, hey, I want to put this, you know, massive sculpture in the middle. There's a cost of that space. So I think of my mind in the same way. I don't want to put some massive sculpture of pettiness or anything in there. I want to have as much clear space so I could be the visionary that I really want to be. I think also it's important for young people of color, right? There's so much wealth that's being created right now in technology. So yes, I think it's great. We're seeing a lot of young people who are actually, you know, getting it on the music side. And then on the flip side, you know, there's an incredible pathway that I think people should definitely consider. Learn how to speak the language of the future, which is learn how to code. I had to teach myself how to code in 2013. Learn that language, and to the point where it becomes second nature, becomes innate. If you grew up in a bilingual house, it's not hard for you to speak two languages, right? And so for the world that we're living in now, when you look at the value that's been created in Amazon and later on in Uber and Facebook and Instagram, WhatsApp had 19 employees, got sold for $19 billion. That's $1 billion per employee. That's a simple chat app. Be creative, be visionary, and learn the tools that it's going to take your idea to the level you want to take it. And I'm saying that right now in technology is only about 3% minorities.
I didn't know it was that high. I thought it was less than that.
And that's what I'm saying. Those numbers are staggering. And so we already
even less for women who are.
I mean, listen. And so that's really why I was like, look, I'll rap about it, I'll sing about it, I'll write about it, I'll do music about it, I'll do technology about it, because even if I'm not the, you know, at the Grammys and at the Oscars, et cetera, but someone like Artemis discovers what I'm doing and says, you know what, I could replicate that. It's only it only takes one person to be Michael Jackson. It only takes one person to be Jimi Hendrix. It only takes one person to be Steve Jobs. But when we look at the actual technologists that have made it and made that type of impact, they need to look like us. They need to look like us. And so I decided, I made a conscious decision, and that's why if we take it full circle with this interview, I made a conscious decision that there will be a Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg that looks like us, and I will be that. I'll die trying, just like 50 said. You know what I'm saying? I'll die trying to do that.
No, by the way, Artemis bigs you up on that level. He's actually said the fantastic thing about Ryan Leslie is he is smart as fuck. He will always land on his feet because he can do everything. He will always have an investor in any endeavor he embarks in like he has now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's real. That's real.
You want to meet this person?
What do you think about? I've never met him. What do you think about this picture? When you see that picture, what was that?
What is the picture?
That's you and Kanye, and it's Drake in the middle. Where was that picture?
Right.
Do you remember that picture?
Pure gamesmanship. Not.
Don't get caught up in this some words. Just showing you a picture.
Well, I remember this picture. This picture was my birthday. My birthday. I'm trying to think, maybe 2009 or 2010, and that's when we did a bunch of records together. We did Started Up. That was the time when Kanye was just saying that Lloyd Banks one of the greatest, lyricists, right? So we did Started Up with Banks. We did Christian Dior, Denim Flow. We did a bunch of records around that time. And I'm not exactly sure what the Drake.
Oh, because they said that Drake's emergence added to your career being stifled.
Well, I would say, like, I got a clip. I used to do a lot of work out of Chung King Studios, and I have a clip of Drake who actually came to the studio at that time. And actually, Drake, I think, said something on Instagram the other day or a couple weeks ago that he used to listen to my music a lot, and on one of his first mixtapes, he said something, you could be my next selection like Arles or something like that. So, I mean, listen, somebody had to inspire Michael Jackson to do the moonwalk, right? And it was Mike that actually took it and made it, universally known, right? And so for whatever I've done, whatever contributions I've made to Cassie, Puffy, Drake, Kanye, and hopefully to the Steve Jobs of the future, those are the ways that I think my life is actually going to be measured, is how generous was I with my creativity? How generous was I with my craft? How generous was I with my resources, my contacts? And so I feel like I've been blessed. I can't be up here and complain. You know what I mean? I've made great decisions from an investment standpoint in terms of time and also in terms of just the stock market, et cetera. Like me being that early in technology, I knew in 2009, put your money in Google, Apple, Amazon, Starbucks, and then I sold Starbucks to get into Facebook. And more recently, being in those conversations in Silicon Valley, somebody told me in 2013, hey, you should get on the cryptocurrency wave.
Right.
And whether people believe in Bitcoin or not, it's created a great deal of value for a lot of people, including my friends, not my friends, but my colleagues at Harvard, the Winklevoss twins, right? So they have the most Bitcoin of all time. And I would have never known about it unless I was in the conversation.
Right.
And so what I'm building at Superphone is just, how do you stay in the conversation? You got to stay top of mind. So when someone says, look, here's something you should check out. I remember a text exchange I had with Nipsey. He said, yo, Ryan, what's my next subject? What's my next topic? I said, crypto. And then next thing you know, he went over he went over to Amsterdam. He invested in in an actual blockchain or cryptocurrency platform, et cetera. But I would have never been in those conversations unless I had the openness to change the conversations I was in. Music industry in so many aspects is a crab mentality because they feel like there's such scarcity. Once you can get from a place of scarcity and get to a place of abundance where people are like, look, there's so much value that's going to be created in cryptocurrency. You should get in now.
Share the knowledge.
Yeah. There's so much value that's being created in the stock market. You should get in now.
A lot of people do things and try to be really secretive about it and don't want other people to know about it and feel like, I'm going to do it. I don't want anybody else to take this from me or steal this, when really...
Full transparency. Full transparency.
That's why I feel like a lot of the stuff that happened to you in the music industry is more of an indictment of other people's insecurities than it is of you.
That's the case.
And at least you sleep well at night, knowing that.
Oh, man, I sleep great at night.
That's important,
I sleep
too.
great. All 3 hours.
When is it,
3 hours, you got to do better than that.
I heard something about some happy birthday texting software. Is this the same thing as the...
It's all the same. So somebody somebody leaves their birthday when they add themselves to my phone, then every year they'll get an actual birthday message from me. And so
some money.
That's going to be wild when you die, though.
Yeah, no,
That's gonna be
we talked about that. We talked about that. You know, it's actually crazy. I was talking about it with my team. I was like, look, I'm going to do a photo shoot of me on the streets of gold, right? And so after I actually pass away, my phone will still be texting people like photographs of me on the streets of gold.
It's creepy.
It is creepy, yeah. But I mean, that's what's possible. And you know what?
What is the streets of gold? I'm broke.
Streets of gold. Where's the streets of gold?
Yeah, what is that? What is the streets of gold?
Well, that's what, growing up in a religious family, they said, look, when you go to heaven, it's the streets are paved with gold. You know what I mean? So
So
those are in the
Gotcha.
songs, the Christian songs, etc.
So that photo shoot is saved until.
yeah.
Wow.
Why
yeah.
not take it up a notch? Actually pose with Jesus.
Yeah,
Look
for
like
sure.
you're sitting on a cloud. Like,
Yeah.
really take it there.
You can.
The streets
Oh
of
my
gold, it
God.
might confuse me. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
like Ryan
exactly.
with Jesus?
Or maybe you
Yeah.
in Cuba and they can say you're still alive.
They can. Well, I mean, listen, I've seen a lot in terms of actually just being out in the valley, and I mean, listen, for what's happening right now, I think that when we think about Gmail, if anybody in here got a Gmail account, everybody got a Gmail account. When you sign up for Gmail, you're giving Google permission to just, anonymously take your data and get smarter, right? But when I went out there the last time, one of the conversations I was having was that email is only kind of like an afterthought. The real business, the real value is happening in just the regular conversations, the phone conversations, the in-person conversations, which is why they had to put microphones in your actual cell phone so that people can actually, create like an actual, create like a real map of what's actually going on in humanity. So like Instagram is a really nice map. Facebook is a nice map of your relationships.
Right.
But until you guys started recording these and putting them on YouTube, et cetera, so a much wider audience could get to them, the information is very siloed.
Word.
And so I think that, as much as I'm joking about like, hey, this is what can happen after the grave, I think that technology companies are working on applications that allow me to be able to talk to my great grandkids because they'll have some sort of like hologram.
Like a
so
profile,
yeah, for
hologram.
sure.
Like Tony Stark at the end game.
Yeah, and what's even more crazy about it is it won't actually just be a recording. It will be some sort of like uploading of
AI.
my mental capacity. So it will actually say, okay, this is how your great grandfather would respond, but it's not a recorded response.
That's
It's
the next
something
wave.
Yeah. So I'm saying like, I think really right now, I think anyone that's listening to this interview would be like, okay, look, yeah, I used to watch his videos on YouTube where he was like, making beats, et cetera. But that really is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what excites me for humanity on a global scale. And so, like I said, my greatest contribution, my legacy play is how can I help as many people as possible, especially people that look like me, people that are of diverse ethnic backgrounds, women as well who are underrepresented. How can I empower them when they have great ideas to make sure that those ideas are funded, that those ideas can grow, and those ideas can actually change humanity for the better? Because that's what I'm here about.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why haven't you groomed more artists, but I got my answer.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, like I said, the artist piece of the puzzle is subjective. Music is subjective. So I could put all of my energy, creativity, passion, and craft to make an artist, and that's why record companies exist. Record companies are almost like venture capital companies too. They got the money, they might not have the great artist idea, right? And so someone that comes with, like Coach K and them that come with those artists, they have the great artist idea and it's authentic, et cetera. You have to be at that cultural moment in time where everything aligns and it works. In business, though, people are always going to need to eat. People are always going to need clothes. People are always going to need convenience. They're always going to need to save time somehow. And so when you have those kinds of ideas that extend beyond the subjective nature of music, you're going to have a better chance of actually being able to build a business that's sustainable, can give you some ownership for today and for your family for generations to come. I think that one of the biggest issues that we have in our communities is the fact that, we're never taught ownership.
Nope.
And we're taught, and we think that because we don't own houses or land or cars, we don't have ownership, but really we do have ownership. We have ownership of our data. We have ownership of our time. We have ownership of our mobile devices and our contact lists, and we don't do what we're supposed to be doing with our mobile devices and our contact lists. Right. So I'm interested in helping to change that entire mentality because that little ripple can actually create the tsunami that's going to take to really change and turn the tables in terms of the disparity in wealth. Because, look, wealth is really just about being able to make decisions because you own your time. And when you have to trade your time in for a 9-to-5 job, or you got to trade your time in for, doing whatever you need to do to survive, then you're potentially less wealthy you don't even have time to go to the gym, or you don't have time to do what you want to do with your kids or travel,
Go
etc.
to a therapist, any of that.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I'm
all
interested.
luxuries.
I'm interested in just creating luxury as a baseline for our community, and I believe that it's possible. But it starts in the actual conversation and contact speed in your phone. It needs to be more intelligent. And so before I get out of here, before I actually expire and start sending those pictures from beyond the grave, I want to make sure, and I appreciate you guys for giving me this platform to just plant that seed.
Right.
That even if you're not using my technology, you're not using my software, you got 150, 200, 1,000 people in your phone, you're not connecting with them and communicating with them, telling them your dreams, your desires, finding alignment so that you can actually have the impact and exponentially increase the impact that you can have, then you should just recalibrate. And if you need help through it, you could text me, you could call me, I'll help you through it.
Give him the phone number, Ryan.
TextRyan.com. No one's going to remember my phone number. Just go to TextRyan.com, leave your number, I'll text you right back from my number.
I have one last question. What about how would your technology work with a label? Because obviously this is something that is to empower individuals. And so working with a label, how does that work?
Oh, it works perfectly with a label because sometimes artists just want to be creative. So the reason they sign to a label is so the label can manage all the other aspects of their career. For a label to really be smart, or a booking agency to really be smart, or whatever to be really smart, they also should be managing the conversations that you're having with your fans. So if you just want to be an artist and just be in the studio and create music and have a label or a manager manage all the other aspects of your career, then that label or manager is doing you a disservice unless they are actually helping you to manage the multitude of conversations that you could be having directly with your fan base.
Word. Well, salute to you, Ryan Leslie. Thank
Salute
you for
to y'all.
coming, man.
Thank y'all for having me.
TextRyan.com.
Yeah.
Yes, and support Ryan Leslie and all his endeavors because clearly you're trying to do things that are bigger than you.
Absolutely. I'm doing it like they say we're doing it for the culture. I really am doing it for the culture. And honestly, it's great to be talking about a 10-year anniversary show. That thing sold out over text, and I think it's just yet another example of the power of this communication protocol and how underutilized it is. And so for the lucky people that actually will be in the building, we're going to have a great show. And for anything else that you ever need from me, it's TextRyan.com. Reach me directly.
Absolutely.
Will this be streaming the show if people can't make it in?
we definitely recording it, so
Okay.
we'll put some clips online. We'll put some clips online, but I almost was like, hey man, no photos or
Right.
film.
I was wondering.
Yeah,
how-
like Maxwell just did like a crazy concert, and they actually they put all the phones in Ziploc bags and
They do that with comedy shows all the time.
yeah. But I mean, it's everybody can record this. You know
Okay.
what I mean? So yeah, you'll see it.
The word. It's Ryan Leslie. It's The Breakfast Club.